All the hysteria about AI. Is the trade over? Is it overhyped? Can it return money? Now, we know information processing and equipment software, 4% of GDP. Here's the rub, though, 92% of GDP growth. So here you have the first half this year. You can see the spike. It's pretty obvious. But real GDP, if you were to take this out, barely growing, folks. This is more powerful than consumer spending right now. There is no doubt AI is a juggernaut, the likes of which this generation has never, ever experienced before, hence all the questions. Of course, there are questions about financing. People are concerned about it. Some say that it kind of reminds them of the gimmicks we saw during the dot-com bubble. And, you know, listen, doubt has been spreading recently like wildfire everywhere. But you can see the investment is still where this is where the investments are. I'm going to bring in Spear Invest founder, Chief Investment Officer Ivana Delevska. So listen, we know billions, maybe trillions of dollars pouring into all of this. You've made people a ton of money on it, but now there's doubts about whether it will ever play out to its maximum potential.
So thanks for having me, Charles. I think we're on a new wave ahead of a new wave of investment in AI driven by the agentic revolution, right? So what we've seen so far in the first wave was mostly targeting chat and search related use cases. Now we are ahead of this new wave, and this is why you're seeing the investments going from a few $100 million to billions of dollars.
Right. So here, last week, David Einhorn said, okay, using the Gartner hype cycle, this is where we are. See that peak of inflated expectations? That's where we are, and we're going to plunge through a trough of disillusionment. And if that's the case, the stocks that are all involved in this may make the same move. Are you worried about this?
So first, Charles, we disagree that we are at the peak of inflated expectations. If you look at expectations, for example, for NVIDIA, it's barely for 8-10% growth for the next 5 years, right? And we can see what the orders are for the next 5 years. So we have pretty good visibility for the next 3 to 5 years in terms of what projects are coming online, what are the use cases, and so on. But where the uncertainty is, what happens after the 5 years, right? Do you actually have these AI agents be useful? And this is where I think picking the right companies is going to be key.
All right, because again, 2 weeks ago, MIT said so far only 5% of companies said they're getting any kind of economic benefit. You brought up NVIDIA. People are saying, okay, they're doing some kind of shell game here. NVIDIA pledges $100 billion to OpenAI. OpenAI signs a $300 billion deal with Oracle. Oracle commits $440 billion to buy NVIDIA chips. They're just saying it's one of the old school, like if you go in the corner of Times Square, one of the shell games. Is it?
Well, it definitely sounds like it. However, I would say that NVIDIA has been doing this, supporting the ecosystem for the past 15 years. So they basically invented AI, and they've been trying to develop use cases and support companies to be able to come up with new products. So while I don't think it's necessarily a positive, I think the stock was up on the OpenAI announcement, it's not necessarily a negative because you are going to need to invest trillions of dollars.
So in a way, it might be a smart business decision.
That's right. So it's basically a good business decision for them because they're diversifying slightly further down the road while we like their current business.
Everyone's got to go to your site, spear-invest.com, because you make these amazing flow charts. I love them. One area that you do like is the cybersecurity area, right? You say that's a great place to be. We're going to pull up some names because there's a lot there. We want to be more specific. Rubrik is a name that I've played here, occasionally. You've mentioned Zscaler a few times. CrowdStrike, we've talked about a lot. Talk about Rubrik because I don't think most people watching know this stock.
So Rubrik, Charles, is a new IPO this year, and they basically play on the data side of cybersecurity. So they're going to be the backbone for a lot of what Zscaler and CrowdStrike does. So they're slightly different than Zscaler, which plays on the networking side, and then CrowdStrike plays on the endpoint side.
All right, and real quick, you say buy the dip on the networking. There's a value chain, but you say buy the dips. You got a couple names there. We're going to just pull them up real quick. We run out of time, but I want people to see this because you have been fantastic. You've helped me make people money, all right? Now, these both have been hot stocks. I talked about Credo earlier today. I guess the caveat here is that they can be extraordinarily volatile.
So they're volatile, not so much Arista, but Credo is very volatile. And the reason for the recent pullback is now people are worried that Intel is going to be all of a sudden getting into every business and disrupting the value chain.
Right.
We don't think it's going to come that fast, so we still see pretty attractive opportunity here and decent entry points post this recent pullback.
Ivana, you're the best. Thank you.